But it's like one of the things that I think this game does tremendously well is teach people. It does an exceptional job at teaching people. So it's like to even consider doing like a normal mode raid in World of Warcraft without voice comms, you're crazy. For a lot of people, even attempting to do it without looking up a guide, you're crazy. You're insane. It's never going to happen. For your average World of Warcraft player, it's never going to happen. Like, sure, progression guilds and people that go a little bit more hardcore, they might be able to do it. And here's the thing, even attempting to do it without just DBM, which screams at you what you're supposed to do, like bad is coming. Don't stand in bad. Run away, little girl. You know, that type of stuff. It's like, without that, I think Blizzard even develops their encounters with that in mind. And it's just like ridiculous that they can't come up with a system where they just teach players like, hey, here's a stack marker. We taught you about this in a certain dungeon or a previous other raid. You know how the stack markers work. Or even something as intuitive as vulnerability stacks. I love vulnerability stacks. It's such an amazing tool. Like, a lot of people will not understand, like, if Final Fantasy XIV is their first MMO, they will not understand how important the vulnerability stack is, because it is something that you look at it, you see it, and you're like, I did something wrong. That mechanic could have been avoided. Because if the mechanic can't be avoided, it will not punish you with a vulnerability stack. And I think that is just like, dude, they actually teach you how to, like, I did the entirety of Eden without looking up guides, without looking up anything. And I'm not saying that as an achievement. I'm saying that if you compare that to other MMOs, like maybe even I've heard that raiding in Guild Wars 2 is also extremely challenging to get into. So it's like, you compare it to any other MMO, you're not going to be like a brand new player, jump into a raid and you know, actually clear it. It's not going to happen. This is.
Have you done? So you finished your relic, right? So you did. Yeah. How would you think of Delibram? Because Delibram's a shift from the Vuln stacks to Twice Come Ruin. Twice Come Ruin takes the Vuln stacks and just like dials it.
I loved it. I thought it was amazing
on the teaching mindset, because like I definitely disagree in certain areas, like especially when it comes to jobs. But on Twice Comes Ruin, well, and that's the big joke, right? Because like I was reading a wonderful, beautiful Reddit thread about us this last week, and it is what it is. It's literally like it's great to be humbled and at the same time laugh my head off at the sheer amount of assumptions that people make. But one of it is like he reads the tooltips in his videos to people, and my response was, yeah, people don't read the tooltips. And so I just started doing that. And all of a sudden, people started to improve because there's still like a personal level of responsibility that even a good player just might not even make. And yeah, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just here to like help out. But Twice Come Ruin, I think it's such an interesting teaching mechanic because literally, like, you get hit twice. Like, you gotta be paying attention to the mechanics. It makes that, I think, more critical. But you're going to respond. I just thought it's just an interesting point of view, in my opinion.
I think Twice Come Ruin is a natural evolution of the Vuln stack, where they're like, okay, we want this content to be a little bit more challenging, so we'll give you a pass on the first mistake you make, but then you better be a good boy, because otherwise we're going to put you down. We're going to put you in the ground. And it's like, I love a game that is not afraid to take a player out. Because like nowadays, if you go to, you know, single player games, open world games, there's a lot of games that like, it's almost like they're scared to kill the player. Like, oh my God, no, we can't, we have to coddle the player. No, I love when games just like, no, you made a mistake. Now you're dead. Learn, get better.
Have you tried Delibram Savage? Have you tried Delibram Savage?
I haven't done any extreme content or savage content. It's like, I want to, but I would want to have like a party of people so that, you know, because like here's what happened to me my first party finder experience. It was not a good one, and I'm not saying that this was like, oh my God, I can't believe it scarred me for life, but it was just like I felt like I wasted my time, because what happened was the first time that I did party finder was when the Unreal Trials came, and it was Shiva, the first one, if I remember correctly. So I jumped into Shiva in the party finder, and I had no idea because I never done extreme Shiva. So I'm learning the mechanics. It wasn't even party finder. The first time I went in there, there's like an option for extreme duties or high difficulty duties or whatever. And I went in there and I'm just like, okay, practice phase 1. Let's do this. So I queue for that. I go in there and I'm like, I think we did like 6 or 7 tries or something. I'm like, okay, I've got this first phase down. And then everybody left.
Yep.
And I'm just like, well, what do I do now? And then I started over again. And then it's like a group of 7 different people learning phase 1 again. And I'm just like, well, this is terrible. Like, I don't want to do this. It's like, I want to do this if I have like a consistent party, like a static, that we can go in there and we can all learn. Like, I don't mind wiping 50, 60, 100 times. I don't care. But it's like, I want the same people that are there learning. So that it's not like, oh, we learned the first phase. Bye, everyone. Let's go learn again.
Right.
Yeah,
we're investing in each other. If you learn faster than me or slower than me on a mechanic, it's fine. We're all here for the journey. But what I don't want is, me to happily and perfectly patiently wait 2 hours for you to figure out a mechanic. And then the next day I have to wait 2 hours for somebody new to learn that same mechanic. Like, I want to bring you along. I invested in you. You invested in me. Like, we did this together, and I want that triumph.
We want to have that.
And that comes from
that
WoW.
dividend to pay out over time.
I mean, that comes from WoW, because like in WoW built that, because WoW, A, something like Pathfinder couldn't have existed. And B, there were times that, through various raid tiers, we've had to like farm up a resistance set for a tank, and the resistance set was very expensive. And so everybody in the guild came together to pool resources to build this set that's going to help this tank survive this one boss. And you're going to get to the next boss, and that's going to require some attunement or whatever. So there was this kind of collective mentality where you invested. Now, it did make it inaccessible to anybody that could not become part of a collective. So you talk about not doing that whole style of content. You're missing out on an entire section of content here because you haven't been able to put the time or the effort to overcome that because you've had other priorities. And that's fair. People are like, oh, well, I have kids, or I want to play this other game, or my job's too busy. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It doesn't matter how big or small the reason is. The end result is that there is a piece of content you're interested in, and there is something stopping you from getting there. It doesn't really matter how big the speed bump is. The problem is that there is a speed bump.
But I don't think that this is a fault of the game by any stretch. Like this is basically my schedule, and the fact that I can't commit to like, okay, 7 p.m., 3 days a week. Right. I do this. I unfortunately can't do that because I have 2 kids. It's like I can't go, 7 p.m. every other day. It's fine. Let's go.
So I think Twice Come Ruin really helps. I think that was a huge step in the right direction. Yep. In Savage, it moves to Thrice Come Ruin. And so you get 3 stacks of it instead of 2, but they don't fall off until the end of the boss. So they don't tick down. Because Twice Come Ruin, that's a probationary stack. And if you're good for 2 minutes, that stack falls back off. And so you can keep bouncing around with just 1 stack at a time and you're fine. Mm-hmm. Thrice Come Ruin, no, you're done. And there's no resurrections without lost actions in Savage. So you're steadily losing people, or you're losing consumables, or both. And then if you wipe up in the raid, you have to log out of the instance, and you have to clear Deliverum Savage from the start all the way to the finish. So you talk about wanting to be in with a static. You do not want to try to pug Deliverum Savage. Like that's no.
Yeah, exactly.
David follows that up though, and saying that that mechanic stops you from being able to blame the healer in that regard.
People still blame the
healer. And Mysterio says like, hey, I'm gonna still blame the healer though. It's like you can't tell me what to do. Dadgum healer.
I don't think I ever really blamed the healers because I've healed in World of Warcraft. I do have a video that was very like infamous because I basically asked healers to heal sprouts in like roulettes, and the healers resoundingly said no. I was like, okay. I mean, you do you. Because like I had comments in that video of people saying like, it's not my responsibility to fix the party's mistakes. And I'm just like, but
that is literally your role.
It's like
it is a reactive role. It is literally your role. Now it would be ideal if they would not see how intensive they can make your role, but you literally signed up to fix their mistakes.